COVID-19 spreads from person to person through the droplets that are produced when someone coughs or sneezes, which makes it easy to spread between people in close contact. Now let's get prepared to stay healthy. To reduce your chance of catching or spreading COVID-19, practice these simple everyday preventative measures. Droplets can also land on surfaces, so ensure that you wash your hands frequently for a minimum of 20 seconds or sing the happy birthday song twice. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes, nose, and mouth. If soap and water are not readily available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with an alcohol content between 60 and 90%. 70% is ideal. When you cough or sneeze, cover your nose and mouth with a flexed elbow or a tissue. Dispose of the tissue immediately and then wash your hands. If you notice someone has a fever and cough or other symptoms of respiratory illness, avoid close contact when possible. Let's all do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. Our health is our collective responsibility.
So we need to get the facts straight. How does this virus work? How does it transmit? Where does it want to go? And let's protect ourselves. I'm Dr. Peter Lin. I'm a family physician in Toronto, Canada. The coronavirus is a family of viruses that can cause as mild things as just a common cold, all the way up to SARS or MERS. These are these bad pneumonias that we're talking about. And basically what these viruses are, they look like a tennis ball with all these spikes sticking out of it. And depending on the type of spike, it allows that virus to attach to certain places. So some viruses, they have the spike that attaches to your nose. So basically you just get a common cold. But the SARS virus and this new virus that we're talking about has the spike that allows it to attach to the cells in your lung. And when it attaches there, it puts in information to make photocopies of itself. So it uses our equipment to make more viruses.
I'm declaring a public health emergency of international concern over the global outbreak of novel coronavirus.
Most of the coronaviruses live in animals. In this particular case, it was from Wuhan. There was a fish market where they were selling live animals. And the thought is that the virus was in a live animal, then it crossed into a human. But then what we found was that people were getting sick in terms of healthcare workers, in terms of family members that were looking after them, which now meant that the virus can pass from human to another human. Just like all viruses, it needs to reach a target, which is your lung. And it has to get there with your help. It has no feet and no wings. So therefore it needs us to move it there. So that's why we keep saying, don't hang around sneezy people because you're gonna breathe it in. And don't touch your face because that's how the virus is gonna get in. The masks are helpful, but they're not necessary because they're leaky. The ones that you and I buy basically have pockets here, so therefore the virus can get in. What the masks really do is they stop us from touching our face. If you're sick, we tend to mask you, so therefore you're not spewing out the viruses to other people sitting around you. The true people that have the real masks are the N95. Those are sealed. These are for the doctors that may be caring for the patients. So in the beginning, the coronavirus will cause kind of like flu-like symptoms or a cold. So people just get the stuffy nose, that kind of thing. But you'll understand that as soon as that virus starts manufacturing in your lung cells, they're producing all these copies of the virus, all of a sudden now you kill the lung cells. So now you can't exchange oxygen. And that's why one of the early symptoms is people get very short of breath and they tend to have a difficult time breathing, and that's why they end up in hospital. So currently, unfortunately, we don't have a direct treatment for the coronavirus. So we don't have a medication that can kill it off. And so it's really supportive. So in other words, the patient can't breathe, we give them oxygen, help them to breathe. They can't drink, so therefore we give them fluids to support them. Their kidneys begin to shut down, we help them with all those things. So it's a very supportive process. This is a new virus that we've never seen before. So our immune system, our army, are having a hard time figuring out what to do. So usually what we have to do is
Good morning to one and all. Coming to you live from the HARDTALK studios. My name is Devon Romain, and we are broadcasting live via 89.5, CRFM, City Song 97.5, 92.9 in Carriacou and PD Martinique, and We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn. It's a beautiful sunshiny morning in Grenada, and we want to wish all here in Grenada very good morning, and I hope everyone is feeling fine. This morning we have basically a packed program, and in studio with us this morning is the Honorable Emmeline Pear, the Minister of Education, Information and Religious Affairs, and she is also the Public Relations Officer of the New National Party. Good morning, Minister Pear, and welcome.
Good morning to you, Devon. Good morning to all of your listeners and your viewers on the online. It's a beautiful day, you're right. And I want to say a wonderful good morning to everybody.
Yes, and but as we getting started, Minister, I mean, it's amazing. I'm wondering how it's been done. You as the Minister of Education, the parliamentary representative, St. Andrews Southeast. Okay, you are also the Minister of Information, Religious Affairs, right? Not forgetting your family duties. You're also a wife, right? And an ongoing chaplain within the church. How do you manage all of that?
I actually had that message, similar question, posted to me this morning by a young lady from the constituency. And I have not gotten the opportunity to respond to her as yet. But the truth is, Devon, I don't think it's me. It must be something beyond me. And I really do credit this to the grace of God, a family that is very supportive, husband and children who are very understanding and supportive, and a strong team around me. That's what I give credit to, being able to manage all of this and to, stay on top of all of these things at the same time. Last night I left the office at midnight and was back at 8 o'clock this morning because we had the COVID team meeting at 8. And now I'm here and my secretary is asking me, are you coming in? What time would you be there? So I do not credit myself. I really do credit those three references there: God, family, and team around me.
Very, very important, because I know it's not just me and the young lady, but lots of people continue to wonder how is the minister handling. I know your constituents, sometimes they worry about how you move around, you here, there, and everywhere. But you know what, you are energetic, you're young, and by the grace of God, you continue to do what.
And as you mentioned, concern from constituents, that keeps me actually going. It really, really does keep me going. Very often you get home and, whether it's your son or somebody from home would say, Miss So-and-so call. And she said she just wants you to know that she's praying for you. Or Miss So-and-so, and I'm not calling names, called and she say, read John chapter this or read Psalm chapter that. Or Miss So-and-so call and she say, just know that, or Mr. So-and-so. And, that really, really encourages me. Sometimes you go to meetings, and I try to do as much village meetings as possible where you get as many people together that you can speak to everybody at the same time. And sometimes at 8:30, we close the formal part of the meeting. That's how we structure it. And from 8:30 to about 10 latest, I would see persons one-on-one, give them an opportunity if there are things they do not want to raise in the general meeting, that they would want to have that private discussion. And my team is there. They bring the files from the office and so on. So we have a little office when we go to those village meetings. And sometimes the people themselves would say, no, Miss Pierre, no, it's time for you to go home. Go. Right? You look tired. You need to pack up now and go. So the love and the support and the understanding, the truth is I can't ask for more in terms of that support mechanism that is there.
And I must say, and you wouldn't say it, but I think you are very well organized individual in terms of what you do, whether it's ministerial work, whether it's your parliamentary work and so on, and even in your personal life. And persons can see it, so no wonder why you have the ability to handle such tasks when you call upon, especially by our Prime Minister and so. Minister, as we all know, COVID-19 is in the air, and so many things is happening. But on your end, the Ministry of Education, how was it the Ministry of Education was able to respond so quickly and to ensure that the safety of not just the students, but all teachers and other persons?
Right. So let me say, first of all, before I even go directly to the question, this is a difficult time for Grenada, for all of us. And I like to be very optimistic in that it is a difficult time. We don't have a clue what is ahead of us. We're doing the best we can to prepare for any eventuality. And I really want to applaud the government here, the leadership of Prime Minister, the leadership of the Minister for Health, and the team that I referred to earlier that's actually involved in the planning and strategizing. Now, I believe we have really demonstrated that we are on top of this. And while we cannot be totally prepared for this, but the actions, the demonstration of this government is an indication that we are doing the best we can under the circumstances. We have been through a lot before as a nation, and I don't need to itemize them, the circumstances and the difficulties and the trials we've been through as a nation. But what I think really stands out for us as Grenadians is that we have really learned, generally speaking, how to band together, how to come together in difficult times, and how to ride through storms, without giving up. Our resilience is extremely strong, and I'm convinced that this time it's no exception. We're going to get through this by the grace of God, and with all of the medical experts and all the people who are working very hard at the front line, all these efforts combined, I'm very optimistic, very certain that we're going to get past this. And we're going to look back as we've done after Ivan and others, and to say we've built back better. We have come through this even stronger. And I have all confidence in the Grenadian people. I just encourage us to follow all of the guidelines, all of the instructions that we have. And I know we are going to do this. As it relates to Ministry of Education, the minute time we got the news of what was happening externally, we started internal discussions as to where we are going and all of the what ifs. So very early, we decided as a ministry that we want to put systems in place to support schools as we battle this, and eventually preparing for the closure of schools. So we initially sent out a very long, and I think most of it was also in the media, long list of guidelines that principals were to follow, and that was our initial communication with principals. All the guidelines as it relates to getting the students involved, getting the teachers involved, education and information being priority, getting the students to practice healthy hygiene measures and so on, all of those, teachers and students and so. And then we got to the point where we realized we need to start the process, even if we did not have a case that is confirmed, we need to start the process of sanitization. So we started the delivery. We quickly made an order, and that order may have eaten up more than half of our budget for the year as it relates to supplies. But we immediately got an order externally and internally, and we started the supply to schools of cleaning agents, so Clorox and bleach and gloves and all of those things. We actually started distributing that to schools around the island. And then we started at the same time to put measures in place. What if we had to shut schools down? And then looking at developments, moving from China and into other countries, we decided, look, it is best that we take all the precaution necessary. And the discussions then informed that final decision, which was announced by our Prime Minister. So the closure of schools, Prime Minister announced, and while this was happening, we were already meeting with principals. So that meeting probably came about 5 minutes after the Prime Minister's announcement. So we actually had the principals at the National Stadium to say to them, this is what is going to happen, this is what we expect you to do, and this is how we're going to work together to make this happen. At the same time, the Ministry of Education had already called the management team together to say, look, we are preparing, and this has not happened yet, but we are prepared. What if we cannot come to this building? How are we going to continue the work that we're doing from home, remotely? So we've set up a management platform in the Ministry of Education that all of our officers are now logged on to. And so the conversation, the decisions, all of that can take place remotely now, even if we have not shut down. Now, what we said to principals was, and this was the day of the announcement, you are going back and you are going to ensure that all of your teachers report on Monday. And when they report, this is what is supposed to happen on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. If you get it done on Monday, by all means, you don't need to report on Tuesday. You get it done on Tuesday, you don't need to report on Wednesday. But every teacher must have some means by which they communicate with both parents and students, virtually, electronically. And in addition to that, you want to make sure as the principal that you've supervised over your teachers presenting some format of what is going to be happening with their students for the next 2 weeks at home. So I can tell you in my capacity as a parent, many of the teachers of the children I have in school already had a WhatsApp group chat with parents and with students. So there are some schools that were way advanced. Years ago, they did that, right? But we were not catering for those persons. We catering also for those who have not reached that far. So we do have some best practices. And then we said, we are giving you some options. So we went and we did all the research at the ministry. And we said to them, here is a list of all the sites that you can access learning information from. And this is what we are proposing as the number one option of communication, which caters for the average household in Grenada, where you might not have a laptop. But I doubt there's a house in Grenada without a cell phone. So that is why we said it is not the ideal, but it is the best in this situation that we use WhatsApp as our main means of communication. Secondary to that would be all these other options that we're giving you, and that would take care of the houses where you have computers and laptops and whatever, tablets and so on. So that was done last week, Friday. And on Monday, I have to say I'm extremely impressed with the response from principals and teachers to that instruction and the level of support, the level of cooperation. We've gone one step further, and we have asked that all of our district officers collect data, one with regards to contact information for teachers, principals, and students, because we are also going a step further in terms of a learning platform that would be managed by the Ministry of Education. So it means we are now able to communicate with everybody in the education system from a central location. And not only that, we are now able to upload what we would want you to have. So as opposed to some sites that you don't manage totally, we have total control over that platform. And so we've been communicating, we've been getting, the data has been flowing very quickly, and I want to commend principals and teachers for the response. We are actually overwhelmed with information based on the response.
And I was about to ask you the cooperation with principals and teachers.
Thus far, I would refer to it as excellent, thus far. In addition to that, we've gone a step further. Again, catering for worst case scenario, God forbids, we are not being negative, we're just being proactive. And we have started collecting data of the most vulnerable students out there, the students who are on certain programs in the school, support programs. What if there is a national shutdown? We have to find them, we have to reach them. The data has been coming in, and I really want to commend the team at the Ministry of Education, our district officers out there, our principals, and our teachers. I've been able to communicate with both teachers and students yesterday. And in one case, one student said to me, who I was communicating with on another matter, and I said, "How did it go yesterday?" She said, "Oh my God, it was too much work for one day." And I said, "That's great." And when I got home and I asked my own children, and they said they were engaged most of the day. And as a matter of fact, I made a joke with one of the officers. I said, "Look at this one. My son sent me a voicemail," and he said, and I know you know him very well, send me a voicemail. And he said, "Mommy, can I take a break now? Mr. Julian said we could take a break." And I said, "Okay, fine, Christoph, you could take a break."
Yes.
So it's working out. But I'll tell you this. This is going to be a blessing in disguise.
It is.
Listen me, inevitably, this is where we are going in the education system worldwide. And what this is doing is pushing us ahead even faster. And it's probably forcing us to go further and faster.
And it begs me to ask the question, that would in terms, how would that tie into the whole question of the tablets for school and that sort of thing?
Excellent. And it's going to push us faster too. Now, what has been happening as it relates to the introduction of tablets in school, and I said this politically on the platform everywhere, when the government said it's going to give a tablet to every student, we were not the only political organization that made an announcement like this. Many countries before us did. And what we learned after that announcement, I am happy that we figured it out before we even moved, which is, it's fine, you can do that. Give every child a laptop. But it would have been a waste of resources if you did not do some things before you issue that. So I'll give you a perfect example. And some countries are now regretting that they did not do it the other way around, meaning that the last phase is the physical tablet in your hand. Now, content. If I give you that tablet and you don't have the relevant content, you may as well not give it because it's not going to be used for the intended purpose. And that content is not content you can develop overnight because the content has to be relevant for different levels. It has to be managed. So what can you view? What could you not view? And all of those things. So the content development, I am at a place where I can say we have completed sufficient content that we can launch this program. Infrastructure. There's no point that I have a tablet in school and I cannot log in and access and download material in school. So what have we done? Almost all of our schools right now have had the infrastructure of broadband, and the network facilitates every student and teachers, all of our teachers, together with our students, being able to log on at the same time in the school. Prior to that, if 5 students went on at the same time, maybe we would have had difficulties. So the broadband project has allowed us to ensure that students and teachers can log on at the same time and literally with little difficulty be able to access materials and to facilitate teaching and learning. So we have the content, we have the infrastructure, and then you have the issue of training. Now, if I give the student a tablet and I don't prepare the teacher, it means that we are still spinning top in mud.
Very much
because
so.
we know that the students are way ahead of the teachers,
ahead.
right? So we actually started the training of teachers and principals and education officers in the system as it relates to preparation for online learning and for facilitating the use of technology in the classroom. A lot of training has started there. The essence is we now need to come to that 4th pillar, which is the actual device. Where are we with that? So I'm satisfied those first 3 pillars, we are at a stage where we can go, we can launch. The 4th pillar, we have literally come this week to the final phase of that first step in securing devices, which is the procurement phase. So I was told yesterday that we have gotten the final approval from the procurement unit as it relates to the bidding process. So all of that has been happening over the months. We have not said much, but all of that has been happening.
Great news.
And where we are now, within a week, we should be able to go to Cabinet to say, release the monies that you have budgeted for the procurement of those things. It means, therefore, that our presentation of the results of the bidding process is what is going to Cabinet. Now, Cabinet, the government has already budgeted for securing those. So it's not a case where we've gone through the procurement and we don't have allocation for it. The government has allocated resources for this purpose. And we are hoping, we don't know for how long we'll be in this situation. So I am not going to say it's going to be here before this period passes us, but we are to the end of completion of this process. And the government is committed, totally committed. The New National Party government, despite what we say out there, we are totally committed to this commitment that we made. But we took a decision after that announcement that we are going to go a different route that is going to maximize the returns that we're going to have on that promise that we made. And I'm extremely comfortable with that decision.
That's so much good news. I mean, and those naysayers out there who have been, fighting that down. But as we on the whole question of training and education, could you enlighten us in terms of what is the ministry doing to enhance the teachers' capability, their capacity in terms of learning, and so providing scholarships, whatever? What is the whole thing with that?
This is critical for us. And I always say this is not the voice of the ministry speaking now, but this is, and when I say the voice, I mean what I'm about to say. This is actual concerns raised at the school level as it relates to the quality of teachers in our system, as it relates to the ability of our teachers in the system. And it is coming from the level of teachers, especially those who have been in the system for some time. So they are observing the quality of our recruitment process, the quality of the persons who are coming through from that recruitment process. And we have taken a decision that training and development has to be a critical factor. We cannot compare now and then, but when we look at what is happening now, it really speaks to the urgency of pre-service training, meaning that there was a time when we were pretty comfortable with coming from outside to the inside and starting to teach the day that you get on the inside, meaning I'm recruited on Friday and I start teaching on Monday. And for a very long time, we were very comfortable with this. But we have come to the realization that there's an urgency to change that. So just as you go to prepare to be a nurse or a doctor, it means that we have to now be looking at professionalizing the service a lot more than it is now. So we go to learn to teach, and then we get recruited to teach. And I think that would also increase the possibility of recruiting people who really want to teach. Because I'll tell you, we get in a lot of cases where persons come in for a year because they're looking for a stepping stone to go off to study or to go off, we're waiting to go in the bank, for example. I really want to be a teller, but guess what? I'm going to teach until I get called by the bank. So it's going to reduce that, because if you would take the time to go to study to be a teacher, it means more than likely you want to teach. So that is something that is critical. But in the meantime, so we're having those discussions, we're looking at options, we're looking at models. But in the meantime, what we're doing is a lot of training with our teachers. And we are also training not just at the teacher level, but at the principal level, leadership skills, all of that. Now, what we have been doing additionally over the past couple months is that we have been providing full tuition support to a number of teachers. I am certain right now we are close to about 100 teachers who are on full tuition support from the government of Grenada. And I'll give you a practical example. One teacher came to the Ministry of Education and she said, she's looking to see where in the government service that support can be given, and she's been cut off from her class at UE because she really needs support based on some recent developments in her family. And her request was, even if it's $2,000, just so that I can complete my exams and get past this semester. That was the request. And when we look at the area of studies, when we look at the performance of the teacher, we were able, through that program, to pay off in full that teacher's balance, which was about $40,000. So we have been supporting, right now we have an entire class, over 20 teachers at SU. They are actually studying psychology, and they are studying psychology with the intention of providing better service for special needs students. So these are persons who are in the special needs unit within our schools, and they are working with special needs students, but we realize the need to train them even further, and we are saying the total cost of that training, we have looked at the possibility of funding that in full, and they are at SGU, well, of course, maybe online at this time.
Well, Minister, before we move out a bit on the whole question of education, and so I want to find out exactly what is the new education protocol that has been laid out by the ministry, and so can you give us a...
Okay, and you speak in protocol in relation to?
Well, basically the new the mission statement or so by the ministry as they move forward. You know?
Right. So over the past year or so, we have been looking at stepping up our game as it relates to the vision, the mission, the strategic plan, and we have developed a new strategic plan. We've revised our vision and mission, and the strategic team at the ministry, commendation to them, they have been working extremely hard at the way forward. And I have to say this, that some years ago, the Caribbean Development Bank funded a study of the education system. And following that study, there was a report that was done, and we really did not look too good on that report. And it's something, I guess, the government system, very often we spend money on those research, we get the reports, and then it goes on a shelf, and the implementation part of it. So we have actually developed a system of holding our officers at the Ministry of Education accountable. So what is it that we said that we want to achieve within X period? What we want to hear from you is, what have you done so far? Where are we? And we actually engage a planning officer who has that responsibility to monitor and evaluate our progress in that regard. So we are looking at possible means and ways in which we can advance the work that has been done many years ago, to continue to build upon that work, and to ensure that we hold officers accountable for what we say we want to deliver for the education system. So 2020 has actually been declared in the Ministry of Education as the year of accountability and higher standards. And the team has been very supportive in making that a reality.
That's so good. And as you say, the support from your staff and teachers and principal, they are on par. Minister, on your other cap that you wear, right, when it comes to religious affairs and so, in light of what is going on right now with COVID-19, right, there was a press release and so giving some guidelines to the churches and so even the funeral agencies as to the way forward and so. Can you enlighten us some more as to what? Yeah.
So I actually want to start again with commendation and to really commend the church community, to commend them for their response to the call of the government. Immediately that the Prime Minister made his announcement on behalf of the government, the church community responded immediately. And I really want to commend. So in some churches, they went to online services. And I'm talking about getting that message on Friday, and in the case of the Adventist Church, responding the Saturday for service. Right? And so I really want to commend our churches. Some churches have moved to increasing the number of services in a day. So I know there are churches that had more than one service on Sunday,
Sunday.
and the logistics must have been difficult. So I want to commend our churches. But one step further, the churches, together with the funeral agencies, and I was invited to that meeting where the discussion took place. Again, I want to commend them for the proactive approach. I got a call saying, Minister, we understand what happens on Saturday or Sunday for regular services, but did the government consider funerals and weddings? What do we say to people? And that consultation that took place and a subsequent release sent out to the general public really again gives me another reason to commend the church community, and in this case together with the funeral agencies, for their support, understanding that we are in this together. Funerals, we've heard from that announcement that we want to encourage funerals to be as private as possible, meaning as much as possible immediate families, because we want to avoid congregating where we cannot accommodate social distancing. In addition to that, we also want to look at the protocols, not just for now where we have not announced a case because there's no confirmed case, and we want to look at all the what ifs. So what if there is a total lockdown? We can't wait for something to happen to decide what would happen with funerals. Are we going to keep the bodies until Corona is gone? What are we going to do? And again, the proactive approach and the government leading in that response, to me, every Grenadian should be proud. I am not saying that we have gotten everything perfect. I'm not saying that everything is perfect, but I'm saying any conscious, genuine, honest Grenadian must give credit to the government of Grenada for its leadership in this time. But guess what? God never sleeps. Now, I have been thinking about the times that this government has been in office. Ivan, Emily, it just seems like we're always there for tough times.
Well, it tells you the type of leadership that this party gives to, right? Steady leadership and the confidence that the people of this country put in the leadership of this country. I mean,
and that's not a political statement.
No,
that is
not.
just the fact.
Just a
When
fact.
we look at what is happening right now, you look at what's happening in the U.S., you look at what is happening in countries that cannot be compared with us economically. And you have to just feel proud that, yes, we have not gotten this perfect. We would never get this perfect, but we are doing well in spite of the challenges and the difficulties. We have not run and hide. I heard someone say the Prime Minister took a flight and he ran away. And, you hear a lot of crazy things. We stood up to this, and we're standing up to this, and we are batting on behalf of the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. The frontline persons, I want to applaud them.
Man.
I want to commend them. I want to recognize them this morning. The sacrificial way in which they are serving at this time, we need to commend and to recognize them and to continue to cover them in prayer.
Yes.
But going back to your question about the statement, we have asked our churches to recognize social distancing if they must meet. So we have not said that our church doors must be closed, but we are saying, let's get creative. But whatever we do in being creative, we must recognize social distancing. I am of the firm belief that we can do that without reducing prayers. In other words, we can pray even more while we recognize social distancing. So by all means, we must find every possible way that the church community can continue to cover this nation. If you ask me, if we depend on medical alone, we are going to fail. And I say this with no apology. If we depend just on the medical, on the technical,
Can't work.
on the physical, it will never work. It has to be a combination of the medical, the physical, which is the physical, and the spiritual. And that is why our church community has a very important role at this time. We can't afford to panic. as church at this time, we cannot afford to panic. We have to step up and we have to continue praying for this nation. It is not by chance, I believe, that to this point we have not confirmed a case for COVID-19. I don't think it's just that it's by chance.
Chance or luck.
And at the
It's
same
just-
time, I'm not saying either that there's absolutely no case here. I'm saying we have not yet confirmed a case. I still believe that God is almighty. I still believe that.
He is.
And at the same time, he expects us to be wise, to put all measures in place, to do everything we can do, even when we have not confirmed a case. But I believe he's also given us an opportunity to put all possible systems in place. He's given us that break, that time to set up systems and to put as much structures as we can in place. And we ought not to be complacent. We ought not to take this as a joke. And, I remember Ivan, one young person said, I wouldn't mind if the hurricane comes because I never got an opportunity to witness a hurricane before.
I must admit, I said that too.
Right, and I'm sure you're sorry that you
Oh,
said it,
very
right?
much so.
We don't want to end up in a case where we say, I'm sorry that I said this. There are people genuinely so who probably don't know better, and they're sitting there and saying, well, this thing might not be so bad. If it comes, it comes. I'm
Well,
sure there are
we
some
don't
people
know.
like that. But you just don't know, and you don't want to be so reckless in your thinking. But, Devon, I have to say I'm really disappointed that I listen to some persons and I'm convinced that there are people who are literally wishing that this thing destroys Grenada, and the only objective in some of the comments that I've heard myself, I believe, is Kit Mitchell, NNP, how can we get them down? How can we get them out?
Get rid
And
of
I think this is such an excellent time to rest politics for a minute and think about how, as a nation, we can get through this. You want to return to
work
politics
together.
after? No problem.
Fine,
But
that's-
this is not a time for politics that you would literally associate the name of the Prime Minister with the destruction of the country as it relates to a virus like this. I mean, it is just not the time for this. Now is the time when every Grenadian, regardless of your religious, your political, your social, whatever, it is a time when we ought to drop all of our personal views, our personal opinions, our personal feelings about those things that are not as important, and that we band together, united as a nation, to fight against COVID-19. That's what should be the center of our objective at this time. And I want to appeal to persons, particularly persons who are bent on spreading rumors, especially when the intention is not noble. So a person who gets out there and creates a WhatsApp message and distributes it throughout social media, saying, for example, I'm sure it's here. I know somebody who has it. I mean, how do you ever, in your right mind, get to that stage where there are senior citizens who may be hearing this and is so afraid that they may panic and die not getting COVID-19? How do you get to that stage when persons who are trying their best, working hard, sacrificing, really want to have a word of encouragement at this stage? And so I appeal to our general public. It is not the time. I don't think there'll ever be a time for this, but this certainly is not the time for that kind of behavior, because the same WhatsApp message can say, remember to wash your hands as regularly as you can. Remember to apply social distancing. The same message can say, nurses and doctors, we are praying for you. We understand the exposure that you are in now, and we understand the sacrifice that you are making. We love you. The same message can say that. It is not the time to be attacking the leader of this government. Whatever feeling that you have for him, whatever feeling you don't have for him, it is not the time for this. It is not the time to be attacking the Minister for Health. It is not the time to be attacking all of the systems. It is the time to say, what can I do? What can we do? I don't think this was the best way, but I think we can try this. I think you got this wrong, but guess what? This is too important for us to focus on what you got wrong. Let us see what we can do to get it right. That's the time that we should be in now.
Of course, because at this point in time, we have, as you said, our senior citizens, even our young people who need guidance, who need information, who want to make sure that they are doing the right thing to prevent, the whole question of the COVID-19. But Minister Pierre, what gets those people with all their comments and so? Because this party, this government is providing firm and steady leadership. Whatever comes up, right, the team comes together and come up with some way to beat it. And that is what, that is why Grenadians are so resilient. Having good leadership, understanding that what needs to be done, the majority of our people follow, right? And no wonder why at this point in time, we have not, the Ministry of Health has not said that we have any persons, with the COVID virus at this point in time. Very, very important. And we must continue as a people, right, to give encouragement. And as we said, the frontline persons, when we continue to wish bad on the leadership and even members in the Ministry of Health, consider our family. One of our family members may be in the front line, maybe a nurse, maybe a worker at the airport or a different port, right? We have to consider, right, what we see and the message that is bringing out there. And Grenada, we have to be proud at this point in time, the way in which the ministry is managing, right, this whole situation. We have not seen any chaos or panic, right? And we have gotten lots of information that we can be guided by. And
just to add, Devon, I honestly don't believe any political party would score any political points in this period.
Oh, they will never.
NNP will not. And I'll tell you why NNP would not. People have seen the NNP perform under critical conditions, testing times. And guess what? The people of Grenada expects nothing less.
Nothing.
So we are not going to score political points here. People have already identified us as a party that when there's a crisis, we step up and we do the best we can. So we're not going to score extra political points. And guess what? No other party should think that they're going to score any political points. People just expect us to work together. So let's put politics aside and just work together to get past COVID-19. So let's not get it in our head that anybody is going to win a seat because they've said X or Y or Z about the government at this time. People are going to judge us by the genuine way that we approach this virus and what we do for the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. There's no points to be scored in this time, in this crisis.
No points. Minister, I wanted to ask in the beginning about two basic questions. One, there has been a rollout of a lot of activity within the Ministry of Education when it concerning the maintenance and repairs of our schools, right? And secondly, how is the relationship or what's going on between ministry and the teachers as it concerning the whole question of the work to rule and what you can say concerning that?
So I'm really happy you're introducing those questions, and I'll tell you why. Not because I really want to answer them this morning, but because I've said to my team, listen, COVID-19 is really something that we should be concerned about, and we have to do every possible thing that we can do as a ministry to prevent and to support the national effort. Everything that we can do, we must do it. But guess what? We cannot shut down every other thing because of COVID-19. So as we speak, guess what we are doing? And I said to the team yesterday, we have to capitalize on these 2 weeks that students are home. Let's get some repairs going. Let's observe social distancing. Let us do what we have to do.
Yep.
So we have taken the approach that we're going to put in the extra hours. We're going to do all that we can to capitalize on this opportunity as it relates to pest control in our schools, as it relates to repairs, as it relates to some of the administrative work that has to be done. Right now, we are sending information to CDB. They're sending back. We can't put that on hold for COVID-19 to go, because guess what? When COVID-19 is gone, we now have all of the issues to deal with, and they'll be waiting. So we are taking a two-prong approach in this season. We are doing everything that we have to do. I have also said to the ministry, if we need to pull in extra hands, we need to pull in extra persons on board, let us do that, because we cannot stop one stream for the other. So as we speak, we continue our maintenance efforts until we reach a situation, God forbid we don't have to get there, where there's this total, absolute shutdown and nothing can happen. And I'm praying that we don't get there. But if we do, of course, we're going to observe all the rules in this game. We continue to focus on maintenance, and we have been working very closely with the Ministry of Works in many, many, many years. Last year has been our best as it relates to the spending on school repairs, the number of schools we have been able to support, and the work we've been able to accomplish, but more so, the system that we've been put in place. We've actually brought in an officer that's focusing just on school maintenance as a priority.
Excellent
We have
idea.
brought in 3 supervisors on board, and they are down on the ground working with principals, working with schools, getting all the scopes done, moving from school to monitor what is happening. And on top of that, we've been assigned an engineer that is also assisting and coordinating and supervising a lot of those things that are happening. We have just in recent weeks gotten support, additional support, through the Ministry of Finance, through the World Bank, and we talk in millions and millions of dollars. This must be God, and I don't apologize for saying those things because
it is always God.
Because we really do need the resources to improve the learning conditions in our schools, and we have been getting the support faster than our process can facilitate processing of those requests.
Excellent.
So we are very grateful, thankful, and we continue to work. Additionally, as you know, we also have serious funding, over $20 million through the Caribbean Development Bank, and that's also for construction of some new schools, major repairs and expansion. And yesterday the team said to me, Minister, we had some sod turning ceremonies planned. So for example, Presentation Brothers College should have been this week, an expansion of the school. Then we have J.W. Fletcher. There's also another expansion project for that school, a new wing, technical wing. And they said to me, what do we do? Because we can't bring all these people we were supposed to bring together. I said, let the work continue. Let the contractors start moving. Interview the people who were supposed to be in the ceremony. Put the story out. Let's keep moving. So we are pressing ahead as it relates to improving the infrastructure in our schools, and we are committed to that. We are not happy with some of the conditions that our teachers have to function under, or students have to function under. But the good news is that we understand, we are committed, and we are doing something about it. We do have, for example, the Paradise Preschool. If you pass the back road to Telescope,
You'll see
the place is already graded, the contract already approved, work has started. And what you're going to be having is a new school. I don't want to say brand new. People say don't say brand new, but a new school. The Paradise Preschool. Then in Happy Hill, we're going to be having a new school in Busheju, actually, for that corridor there, a new preschool there again. The Anglican school in Grenville, we have just finalized on a location for moving of the school population out, a temporary housing for that school. We're going to be moving everybody out, and we're going to be actually, well, I don't want to say it's approved, but this is what we've proposed to the Caribbean Development Bank, basically from the wishes of parents and the school community. We're still waiting on the final word from them based on the costing, because as you know, most people prefer that the school remain at that location. The bank has indicated, based on their assessment, it is possible. but it's obviously going to run the cost up. So that final decision is where we at now, the costing, the designs, and all of that. Grenada Christian Academy.
Yes.
We are discussing where are we going to put you because we're about to actually move into the construction. The good news about there is that we can continue to do some minor work on the school, which we started in July, August, because that school is moving to another location. So on that location, we're just sorting out the issue of some farmers who are on the land and some activities there. That is also approved. And we also have St. David's Catholic Secondary School. Again, that's a new school approved, funding approved. We're just finalizing some land issues in that particular case. And we are on the move as it relates to that. And I really want to thank everyone,
What about
principals, teachers,
Bishop's
everybody
College?
for the support. In the case of Bishop's College, that has been approved quite some time now. Work should have actually started in Bishop's College. If you noticed some months ago or a month ago, thereabout, we had a press release that went out saying that there's a further delay, and that delay was because of the cost of the project. Based on the CDB rules, that cost would have eliminated every local contractor in Grenada. And we wanted to make sure that we gave a fair chance to Grenadians
To locals,
so that
yes,
they are able
yes.
to bid. That process was open. We announced it. We did have some persons coming in. And then there was another issue with the process, and we had to extend for 2 weeks, right? So Bishop's College, all that we're waiting on is for that bidding process to be completed and for the work to start. Again, with Bishop's College, we do have to do some possible relocation. We're sorting out those at the same time. And we are prepared. We are prepared to move ahead. St. Joseph's Convent, both St. George's and St. Andrew, there's some work to be done there as well. Presentation Brothers College. We are committed. It's difficult, but we are committed, and we are getting full cooperation from the principals, all of our stakeholders in this process. And I'm really happy. You know, Devon always say, too much talk. Let's get the thing done.
Let's get the thing
And
going,
I have
yes.
seen that as it relates to school maintenance, school expansion and development. And one of our officers at the Ministry of Education, newly brought in about a year ago, less than a year ago, Ms. Ruth Charles, she has really been on top of the ball in that regard, and I have to give credit to her. A lot has been happening in that regard.
That's very important. Minister, wow, so many things to talk about, especially with you and your portfolios within government. And so I want us to touch a bit on the whole question of information, because you are the Minister of Information. And so the COVID virus again and other matters. What has been the ministry's effort in ensuring that enough information is put out there for the public to
Right.
take in?
In the case of COVID-19, we have had as a government to engage external sources for support. As you see the volume of information coming out, obviously we could not rely on our internal structure to facilitate that. So we've made that decision that we're going to outsource some of the work that is happening there. And we have a team that's working day and night, literally throughout the 24 hours on that particular initiative. And I want to commend them and those persons from Government Information Service for all that has been happening. I can't think that any Grenadian would say at this stage they don't know or they don't have the information. Yesterday, someone sent a message that some persons were complaining it's just too much information.
All the way to turn this information. And that is good.
And this is good. This is good. So I think we've gotten the information part of this almost perfect, I believe. And we have to continue. And I want to applaud the Grenadian public. People are sharing information like crazy. And information cannot be just the responsibility of the government. Nope. And so all of those people, I mean, I have a lot of WhatsApp contacts, and you see the information, you pass it to this person, by the time you turn, it comes back to you. It really means to me that people have gotten the message that we are in this together. And while we do have a few persons who seem bent on spreading something different to what everybody else is spreading, I say let's stay focused, let's move on, let's keep positive, let's ensure that every person, regardless of who they are, that they have the message of preparation as it relates to COVID-19. On the broader scale, though, because we have to be careful that we don't focus on COVID-19 alone, because
Exactly,
there's a lot of other things we need to keep people informed about. And I just want to say this, that we continue to work on strengthening the Government Information Service, and we have been putting some new structures in place for strengthening that to ensure that the general population has the information that we're supposed to have, not just in terms of what government is doing. And I always say information from government cannot be just what government is doing. It has to be all of those things that we believe that our population must know. And it cannot be government alone. It has to be a partnership with the entire system of information, which includes private companies that are in the business of providing information. And that's another conversation for another time. But it's something we have to seriously address, because sometimes you listen to the information that is coming and you get a little concerned, you know, that this cannot be a professional entity providing that bit of information. That has to be an individual who just decide to say X or say Y. And so it means that together we have to work aggressively to ensure that our public is well informed with quality information at all levels.
Yeah, and that's the hallmark, quality information.
Quality information.
Right, and truthful. Minister, before we take one or two questions, because there may be persons who want to call, your constituency. Could you, I give you the opportunity to speak to your constituents and so.
I really want to use this opportunity this morning to say to the people of St. Andrew Southeast, and I've said this before, we've had our PA system out for the last maybe 2 weeks by now, and I do not want us to go into panic. I do not want us to go into panic as a constituency. The information is there. The guidelines are there. We want to make sure that we're listening to credible sources. Sometimes I have constituents call me to ask me, is that true? And then my next question would be, who told you? Where did you get it from? Exactly. And then I say, you're listening to the wrong source. So if we tune into the right source, where we have credible information coming, and I've said the right source, Ministry of Health, Grenada. There's a Facebook page. The information is coming with the logo of the Ministry of Health. And in addition to that, if you are so international, then you have the World Health Organization. They also have a Facebook page. They have their website, what have you. Their information is also forthcoming. Be careful about information that you are taking from sources that are not quoting the government of Grenada, the Ministry of Health, and I would say, if we want to go beyond, the World Health Organization. Fortunately, every Tuesday, the government hosts what is called post-cabinet briefing. And if you've noticed, the government took a decision that the Ministry of Health will feature on that press briefing. We can probably say from since this thing became an epidemic, it's been Ministry of Health, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Health. And that is because we want to make sure that people do not lack information. Programs like yours, where you say to the government, can we have the information? Can we have someone? We have facilitated. We have even facilitated going on to other programs of other political organizations. At this time, whoever wants to carry the information that this government is sharing, we are saying we're accessible, we are going to provide that information. So I want all hands on deck. So I want my constituency to be aware that this is not a time to panic. It is a time to ensure that you have all the information that is necessary. However, my philosophy and my view is that while we do everything, and note what I said, everything we can do, we cannot shut down other things that we can still do while we prepare for COVID-19. So, at the constituency office, I said to the staff this morning, we are suspending our regular Wednesday visit. When you have a crowd come in, we are suspending this. However, every person who visits the office or who would like to speak to somebody at the office, there will be somebody accessible by telephone. And the number is 442-7224. No, Let me get that number right. I'm terrible with numbers. Let me get that right and come back. Right? So you're going to be calling a family member with that number I just gave you.
Linda
Right?
perhaps laughing right now.
Yeah, Linda know my brain and numbers. So I'm going to come back to that number. So the office number is what I would say to persons that they should call at this time. Avoid going to the office. There are persons, for example, Linda, she from tomorrow would be working from home. There isn't anything in her job description that she cannot do from home. So we are reducing the number of persons within the office setting. We have made some changes as it relates to the cleaner and sanitizing of the office. And we want to make sure if you go into the office, let it be an emergency. Let it be something critical that cannot be addressed on the phone. We are totally there in terms of service. We've just engaged an additional person for follow-up. So things that you came about that you need to get a follow-up on, we've just added somebody to assist us in that process of getting back to you. So there isn't any service that we have been providing before that has been on hold since the fight against COVID started. We continue in all of our effort, but assembling at the office is the only thing to date that we have made some adjustments to. I am saying let us call the office and let us ensure that we keeping in touch, we communicating, but not physically so. And we continue to do all of the programs that we started. Our workers are out as it relates to our construction, bathroom and toilets, all of the programs. There isn't any program to date that we have put on hold, and I just want the constituency to know that. Communicate with the office as much as possible, but let's try to do it by telephone.
As much as possible. Listeners, the line is open. You can give us a call in case you want to have. We have a couple of minutes. We can entertain a couple of calls. Any questions, any concerns that you may want to ask the minister, and so please feel free. Minister St. Andrews, I know that the 4 parliamentary representatives within St. Andrews have been in the past couple of years meeting and together doing a lot of things to benefit the parish, the entire parish of St. Andrews. Could you give us an insight as to some of the things that you have been doing and you expect to do within the next, couple of months or
right,
years?
so just before I answer this, my staff is actually laughing. They said to me, Minister, it's 442. They know me very well. So they're actually laughing. We have a group chat and I'm actually speaking to them right now. They said it's 442-4903. So if you want to get in touch with St. Andrews Southeast Constituency Office, there is someone there who will answer your phone. We have a protocol on how many rings. Be assured that the same service you're going to get if you go to the office physically, you are going to get it if you call the office 442-4903. And I can assure you that you will get service by telephone. We have to come to you, we will, but please call. If it's an emergency and you have to come, I'm saying you can, but call as first preference.
I think we have a caller on the line. That's our first caller. Good morning and welcome. Good morning. Hello. Okay, apparently that person. Yes, Minister.
St. Andrews.
St. Andrews. Yes.
After the last general election, and everybody would probably remember the last general election when we presented the 4 sisters. And this was not, a political gimmick or a show something. It actually was genuine. That before the election, we came together and we said, look, St. Andrew is too important for us to approach this by constituency. Exactly. And we took that decision that we would run a campaign where we support each other. And I'm telling you, I was extremely happy with the approach that we took, and not just the result of the approach, but the camaraderie that came out of that approach. And when we said we were sisters, I don't believe that this was just a term that we use. We actually demonstrated that sisterhood in terms of how we operated then and continue to operate. So once per month we meet, and we actually make the effort to do lunch together once per month. And that lunch less of the time go into eating, most of the time go into planning and deciding on what we are going to be doing together as a parish. So at our last luncheon, this is where we discussed a church service that we had about a week ago as it relates to our anniversary.
Minister, just stick a pin right there. Good morning and welcome to Hard Talk.
Hey, good morning, Brother Devon.
Good morning to you, my friend.
Good morning, Mrs. Spears.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are everything?
Good, by God's grace.
Okay,
Very good.
okay. Yeah, no, I remember the last election that we are saying to the Grenadian people, this party is a party where you could trust. And in the party, we have candidate that's competent, candidate that is multitasking. And when we are saying that to the Grenadian people, it was something we are saying just to buy the vote. But it is clearly that the Grenadian people could see that when they look at the candidates and look at the ministers, they make the right choice to elect NMP into office. And when you look at the
Hello?
MLE, you look at this virus now, NMP in office, and they are dealing with the situation the right way. The right way, because when you have a leader with a vision, a leader that is able to know how to solve problems, what you have, the children behind that leader, they take the example. And Mrs. Fair, I want to say, you are doing a wonderful job in education. Continue to do what you're doing. The Grenadian know who cares and who love them. And I want to say to the Grenadian people, propaganda will not help. Because people will analyze who, in a difficult time, who there with them, and who there is to care and to give them information to protect them from every sickness, every infirmity. People who want to continue to spread the propaganda, the propaganda will catch up with them. And the Grenadian people know, and as I must say, the Grenadian people know what is good counsel. So you continue to do what you continue doing, Mrs. Fair, because you...
Wow. We just lost that caller there. But thanks again, caller. And to all the callers in future, when you call, just lower the volume of your radio down and listen to us on the phone, okay? Yes, Ms.
So, Devon, just before I get back to the St. Andrew discussion, let me just make a comment related to what the caller just said. And he raised two critical things, leadership and teamwork.
Yeah.
No government would survive times like this without those two critical elements. Let's not get it wrong.
Most important.
Leadership and team. And if you ask me, I know you have another caller.
Go ahead.
I believe this is one of the things I want to get back to, leadership and team, because
teamwork.
This caller has nailed this thing down.
Right.
It is so critical,
Of course, so
very important.
Good morning and welcome. Hello, good morning and welcome to Hard Talk. Good morning.
Good morning, Brad.
Yes, good morning to you, sir. How you doing?
Well, how you doing?
I'm good.
What the hand and thing?
everything is going all right.
I see down there, I say, let me give you a buzz when I hear you that day, man.
Yes, man. Nice.
And good morning to Miss Emily.
Good morning.
Yeah.
That's bull.
This topic this morning is very, very exciting and educating.
Okay.
Yeah, I see down there and I listen it straight. Yeah. But the problem is, Devon.
Tell me.
Devon.
Yes, sir. Tell me.
The problem is, I don't know. I don't know if I young one like what I'm saying, but I feel, I get it in my spirit. This thing they hear already, long before they come out with that.
Well, I can't.
I understand you. That's just my feeling how I get it.
Yes, I know.
They long before they talk about this thing.
But we must continue to emphasize from the Ministry of Health that at this point in time, Grenada's response is excellent, and we have negative.
Yeah.
Right, as far as.
But if I could probably just interject here, Devon. There are different theories out there, right? I heard somebody said, remember in November, so many people were sick and so many people had, we can only speak to... Right. I think what is critical to note is that...
As some people were saying, Miss Emily, when you see we climate down here, the heat of the weather,
right,
we could fight a lot of things.
But we must not be complacent.
It's true. It's true.
But let me just make the point, and I want that to be as clear as possible. As a government, we are not saying that we are certain
No.
that there is no case in Grenada.
No.
We are saying that we have been sending
confirmed
all of
anything
the
yet.
critical people who have demonstrated some sign associated with this virus. We have been sending the tests to be done,
Yeah.
and so far they've all come back negative.
Okay,
We have
okay.
others that have gone down, not back as yet.
Yeah.
We are concerned that when we look at what is happening around us,
Yeah.
our borders and Trinidad right there and this one right there, when we look at what's happening in the U.S., the flights that were coming in and going out, we are not ruling out
No.
the fact that this may just be here, right? But
and
we are
next thing I
saying
want to
as of
just say
today,
before-
officially, there is no official confirmed case from someone who has been tested. But that being the case, we do not want Grenadians to get complacent.
Yeah.
We want to double up our efforts, and you will be hearing very soon additional measures that the government will be taking. And it's making the point, we don't want to do like some places where they waited for the first case to put certain measures in place. We want to take in front.
Proactive.
And next thing I want to say before I put on, you have too much negative explanation outside there, especially with some political party like Kem and them. So Kem only spreading a lot of propaganda. He and a set of fellas and them that this thing is not to spread propaganda. It's to listen for good information and let every one of us do the right thing. And the government doing the right thing, a lot of good information coming out there.
Lots of information.
So I don't know why these boys and them, as Mr. Melly was saying this morning, no party can get no political game by that. None.
They can't.
So let us put we head in one and do the right thing. Wash our hands, listen to the good information from health and everybody, from the Prime Minister. He's doing a good work.
All right,
So-
all right, my friend.
So all the best, birds.
All right, you take good care, all right?
Yeah, well, I'm taking good care.
Yeah, and as you say, help spread the vital information
Yeah,
to
the good
everyone
news.
around you, okay?
Instead of set a whole stupid old lying propaganda, I don't know why
Don't-
they're looking for.
Don't
and
worry,
they can't get nothing with what they're looking for.
to each his
Because
own.
15 coming up again.
Have a good day, my
Take care,
brother.
buddy.
Take care.
Okay, so I've been trying to keep a straight face. So I'll just say to the caller, I did address it before, and I want to address it again. I have not had the opportunity to listen certain programs for quite some time because of my schedule. But if there's any station that is carrying any program that is sharing any information that contradicts what the Ministry of Health is providing as in official medical information, I want to encourage them to desist. If there's any Grenadian that is on any program that is using this opportunity to sow discord, to attack persons and to malign people and to provide information that is not credible, at this time, I want to encourage them to desist. It is not the time appropriate for this, one. And two, what you are doing will result only to a greater disadvantage for us all, because we want to make sure people are prepared in the event that this thing takes a turn for the worse, as old people would say. So you can help us by helping the people out there who need to know what they should and should not be doing, so that if this thing takes a turn for the worse, it would not affect us to the point that we would not be able to rebound and to recover. This is critical because we do not want to end up saying, if we had known, or if we thought about it. We have a golden opportunity right now. We have not had a confirmed case to this point. It is a golden opportunity for us to all be speaking the same language. It doesn't matter how you feel about the Prime Minister. It really doesn't matter at this stage what you feel about the government. Grenada, 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 Grenada. long after the government is gone, long after the Prime Minister is gone, long after you would be gone, Grenada remains.
Most importantly. And we got another caller on the line. Naz, good morning and welcome to Hard Talk.
Good morning to my beautiful brother Devon. Good morning, darling.
Good morning, Ms. Jacob.
And good morning to my, oh Lord, I don't know how to call it.
Well, you already called him beautiful, so I don't know what he got.
Beautiful, handsome. Oh, I don't know how to put it.
All right, anything would work this morning.
Good morning, darling.
Good morning, Miss Jacob.
And don't take on this kind of thing. In fact, you're young, but I old, so I know about virus and things. That virus that raining they now. It's not as before. You know, the place down by the college, down by the hospital, you had 2 hospitals down by Ghana and some down there. That is, down by, I forget the name of the place. Just as the name of the place, that was the name of the virus that they go wrong. And Sister Pierre and Brother Devon, I get an injection when I had 12 years. You hear what I tell you? You know, 12 years. And you know how much years I have now? 72 years.
You're a pretty young lady
when
still.
the nurse give me the injection, I say, oh, God knows I'm dead. He said, Miss Jacob, you have that until you reach 100 years.
Tell me, Ms. Jacob, how have you been doing and coping with the whole question of the virus? Have you been listening, gathering information, sharing information?
Listening and I'm taking good things from good advice.
That's wonderful.
I don't sit down and study a lot of gossip.
No need for that.
Is not for me. I'm getting the right thing. I don't have Our Lady, our Lord, and my Heavenly Father, which is God. And I tell them about take care of us down here. Especially the ministers and them along with me prime ministers, the whole 15 of all there. Tell I put all you in daddy hand already. Daddy have all you in your hand. And by attack to 2 senior citizens this morning. Oh gosh. Well, they say, yes, I say, Alio, please, don't stay down in the hole and answer Miss Jacob. Colin, answer your vibrant man. Come up with it.
Okay, so Ms. Jacob, so as the government and the Ministry of Health continue to share information, so you listen, you help share it, and I want you to take good care of yourself.
And I'm glad,
okay?
Sister Pierre, they're giving the senior citizens over 60 years. They say they're dropping the money home for them. That is true?
Yes, in most instances when the persons cannot come out, they
no. They
yes.
don't want to assemble to go in no bus.
Yes, and
like,
that's a good move.
Like how they come in, if they bring in the senior citizens home.
All right?
Yes, so let me just say the Ministry of Social Development has been putting structures in place to facilitate that. The delivery of the seed benefits to elderly citizens. Persons who do not fall into that category, they have made some special arrangements that persons do not have to go within that small room where they are used to going to collect. So I am aware that in St. Andrew, they are using the St. Andrew's Anglican Primary School for distribution tomorrow. And in St. George's, attempts are being made to use the National Stadium, the cricket section. That does not apply to the senior citizens. That's the regular persons who normally benefit from the program. And you are right. They are making every effort to ensure that persons like yourself receive and stay at home and you receive your benefits from home. Right?
But the little thing I have is, Sister Pierre, I don't have to take my medication in St. David pharmacy. And I tell the lady in the church where they just send out the money for St. David senior citizens. I tell them, and when you see her going up, when 6:30 I reach up there, I don't go on the second day. When 6:30 I reach in St. David. So when I coming back down now, it I have plenty. Well, when I going up is I and maybe 2 or 3 person in the bus. But when I coming back down, you don't have much in the bus, and you ain't good. Yeah, me not to say I don't like this kind of thing that going.
Okay, so here what to do, Miss Jacob, right? As soon as the program is over, give me a call back, and we'll take care of that, okay? Because we are very close to ending the program. Okay? Okay, my dear, and have a wonderful day, and you take care.
Have a wonderful sister, Pierre. Have a good day. And Brother Dovan, don't touch my sister, please. You could give her a little going
under normal circumstances, he would.
Okay,
thank you. And take care of yourself as well. Take care of yourself.
All right.
Just quickly, Devon, I want to just address an important matter as quickly as possible, which is the issue of price gouging. Now, the ministry is the government is extremely concerned about this, and we're appealing to people who are involved in business. Do not use this opportunity. Do not use this opportunity to take advantage of what I would say the citizens of this country. There are products, I'm sure, that because some businesses might have been low on stock, may have had to do a quick shipment, and maybe it's genuine that the price could have gone up. But we have been getting reports of cases where companies are just in a very unfair way have been lifting and raising the prices of certain goods, and customers have been complaining. I want to appeal to all of the people involved in business. Let us be conscious that this is not, again, time that we should capitalize on this and use it in a way that people are disadvantaged and people are treated unfairly. I encourage our persons out there. We are known to be people who are very understanding in times like this. Let us be as fair as we can in the doing of our business.
We have a caller, will be our final caller. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Devon.
Good morning to you, my friend.
And good morning to Miss Pierre. I hope I was dying to get through. 2 quick questions for Miss Pierre. Now, Minister Pierre, are we in a crisis mode? That's question 1. Question 2, are you satisfied with the level of support given to Minister Steele and his ministry? And the last question is, what update can you give us on the status of the Grenville bus terminal? Thank you and have a good day.
Yes, thank you very much, my friend.
So are we in a crisis mode? And I'm not sure why the caller has asked that question. What I can say to you is that we are dealing with a pandemic. And because of that, we ought to be acting in a particular way. Every citizen, not just those in leadership, we must be acting in a particular way. Every Grenadian, as if we understand that we are dealing with something that has been considered out of control, and we want to make sure at the local level we safeguard our population and we do everything to protect our people. So if you interpret that to say we're in a crisis mode, it is a crisis. We are in a situation that we ought not to treat as normal, right? So that's the first thing. In terms of the level of support to Minister Steele and his team, the cabinet and the government in general has given full support from day one to the Ministry of Health in this regard. The Prime Minister has very early, he has declared that the government of Grenada is willing to do everything that is possible to support the efforts of the Ministry of Health. And so I call on the general public, the population now, to join in and to continue to give their full support to the Ministry of Health in the efforts. I said it maybe in different words earlier. So we want everybody to be on board. This is not just something about the cabinet and the government. We want every citizen to be on board and to give full support to the efforts of the government through the Ministry of Health. As it relates to the Grenville bus terminus, You may have heard some time ago that the government of Grenada is working out a lease agreement arrangement with the Port Authority, because for us we believe that the Grenville bus terminus should not be managed differently. The standards must not be lower. The quality of service must not be lower than that of the St. George's bus terminus. The level of operation should not be substandard to the St. George's bus terminus. And so the Port Authority and the government has been in discussions for quite a long time. There's some serious financial issues that also has been on the table of discussion as it relates to what we got as the final product or the semi-final product in terms of the Grenville bus terminus, and the additions, the expansions, the how do we get to the ideal from what we got coming from the getting into office in 2013. Now, what the decision was is that we are going to continue to operate a system temporary as we prepare for the transition from government officially to the Port Authority. And we have had a long process, drawn-out process, as it relates to completing all of those legal procedures and so on, processes that would take us to that point. What I do know is that the buses have been operating from there, and we have put some systems in place. The full rollout of operation, that would be once the Grenada Port Authority takes over in full. And I want to encourage the general public. They've been very cooperative. The bus operators, the pedestrian, the people who are taking the buses, all of the persons who traverse that vicinity there. There's been full support, the businesses and so on. We are going to get to what I call ideal, but in the meantime, I really want to commend persons for the level of cooperation, the level of support with this interim arrangement that is taking place pending the full management from the Grenada Port authorities.
Okay, well, Minister Pierre, we have definitely out of time, and it's been a pleasure having you here with us this morning, sharing information and extending your thoughts and so to the Grenadian people. And we hope that we will see you in the near future, continue to give more information, not just as the Minister of Information, but the Minister of Education and Parliamentary Representative of St. Andrews Southeast. So once again, thank you very much, Minister Pierre, for being here with us, and enjoy the rest of the day. And as we say, you take good care.
Thank you, and I hope to be back sometime soon so we can continue conversation.
Yes, thank you. And listeners, before we go, just want to inform all our listeners that the Facebook Live on Thursday the 19th, and so concerning the COVID virus that would have been at 7 p.m. in the evening, has been postponed. Okay? So it has been postponed until the 26th, right, of this month. Also, to some, just want to say before I go that to all the frontline, as I will say, soldiers from the Ministry of Health, the port authorities, the airport personnel, whoever, wherever you are, and so we want to wish you all the best, and God's richest blessings and protection, because you are the ones that are exposing yourself out there to identify and to help us understand and take care of the COVID-19 virus. So I want to say hats off to you. Continue to do an excellent job that you're doing, all right? And remember that you are all in our prayers. My name is Devon Romain, and I want to thank everyone for being here with us this morning. Until tomorrow, bye for now.
You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada via www.hardtalkgrenada.com.
Protect yourself and our community from COVID-19. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. If soap and water are not available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 70% alcohol. Use a tissue when blowing your nose, sneezing, or coughing. Immediately discard the tissue properly and wash or sanitize your hands.
Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Let's do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. To stay up to date, visit the Government of Grenada's webpage or the Ministry of Health's Facebook page. For more information, contact the Ministry of Health's hotline by calling 53-VIRUS. This has been a public service announcement brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
Stay up.
Grenada issues another travel advisory. We'll have details to this story and more in the national report. With the details to the news for Tuesday, March 17th, 2020, I am Rikisha St. Louis. The government of Grenada has issued new travel restrictions in response to widespread illness caused by COVID-19, reported in Iran, South Korea, China, and Europe. Health Minister Honorable Nicholas Steele says this will take effect from midnight on Wednesday, March 18th.
You will be quarantined for a period of 14 days upon arrival into Grenada if you are a Grenadian national or resident. If you are not a Grenadian national or resident, and in the last 14 days you have been to Iran, South Korea, China, or anywhere in Europe, including the United Kingdom and Ireland, you will be refused entry into the country. Upon arrival from any other destination, you will be screened and asked to self-quarantine for 14 days. Please note, before disembarking, every passenger is required to complete a declaration form on your health status. You are also required to check in daily with the Ministry of Health, regardless of your point of origin. Additionally, additional methods of quarantine or isolation may become necessary if anyone becomes symptomatic. The Ministry of Tourism and Civil Aviation will be working out a schedule with the airlines for repatriation of visitors presently on island.
Minister Steele says effective 12 a.m. Tuesday, March 17th, Grenada's ports were closed to all cruise ships. As added precautionary measures, government is also requesting all restaurants, bars and refreshment houses to refrain from in-house dining unless social distancing can be guaranteed and instead utilize takeout services. Government is also urging the private sector to put contingency measures in place to ensure that work can be done at home while being cognizant that some employees will have to report to work to coordinate activities. 18 persons have been tested for the coronavirus, and the results of 10 have so far been returned, with all coming back negative. The government of Grenada is preparing to embark on a series of sector-based consultations to examine the potential impact of COVID-19. Following the broad-based gathering last Thursday that was initiated by Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Dr. The Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, several sector-specific consultations are now being planned for this week. The identified sectors are banks and credit unions, agriculture, wholesale and retail, construction, hotel and restaurant, labor, national insurance scheme, and transportation. Explaining the rationale for the meetings, Dr. Mitchell said it is important that government is able to determine what is happening in the various sectors, the type of impact that the pandemic is creating in each specific area, so that government can in turn develop appropriate measures to stimulate economic activity. The Prime Minister and Minister for Finance also noted that sector representatives can themselves be valuable sources of ideas for combating any negative impacts from the outbreak. He said, and I quote, "Going forward, we must consider various strategies, including possible stimulus packages for various sectors and the role of NIS. All options must be carefully considered as we collectively seek to ensure that the local economy weathers this outbreak. This is a national issue and we must all be part of the solution." Unquote. Dr. Mitchell has also indicated that efforts are continuing at the regional and international levels to address the economic impact of COVID-19. This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break. Welcome back. A Cuban medical team is scheduled to arrive in Grenada over the weekend to bolster the country's efforts to prepare for COVID-19. Minister for Health Honorable Nicholas Steele says the team of specialists is expected here on Saturday.
These will include doctors and nurses specifically trained in accident and emergency intensive care, as well as infectious diseases. And we continue to request more. The Cuban pharmaceutical product known as interferon that you have heard discussions on social media about, we have discussed and reached out with the government of Cuba through their embassy here and are in the process of ensuring that that medication is on island shortly. I want to be specific and say that it is a new drug, but we have decided to make sure that we have all tools possible that we can use once our challenges become greater.
COVID-19 response coordinator Dr. George Mitchell says the medication is not a vaccine, but is one designed to boost the immune system.
We don't know for sure that medication kills the virus, but what it does do is to boost your immune system. And if we are saying that the primary reason why people are going to demise is because their immune system is low, then we believe sincerely, and based on reports coming out of other countries, China, for example, that medication was invaluable in saving some lives. We believe that we're going to be able to use that medication in those instances where people have reached that type of medical situation where they would require it. That is to boost the immune system and to give the system an opportunity to recover. So that is where the medication would come in. We want to reiterate that the medication is not directly a vaccine, or it does not kill the virus per se, but it helps with your overall ability to fight the virus.
Minister Steele, meanwhile, says the General Hospital is equipped with one isolation facility that can accommodate between 2 to 4 persons. The former CID headquarters is being prepared as a second isolation unit. Contractors are working to have it ready by the end of the week. Finally, in the news, the government of the People's Republic of China will be providing medical assistance to the government of Grenada. This is to ensure that Grenada continues to take proactive measures against the COVID-19 virus. Honorable Nicholas Steele, Minister for Health and Social Security, announced at Tuesday's weekly post-cabinet briefing that a minimum of 500 pieces per item will be contributed.
For our medical personnel team, protective face masks for medical use, medical disposable protective clothing, infrared thermometers, medical protective goggles, disposal sterilized rubber surgical gloves, and medical isolation shoe covers, all at minimum 500 pieces each of those items.
Minister Steele expressed his gratitude to the People's Republic of China for strengthening bilateral relations and concerns made for the people of Grenada.
I want to take this opportunity as well to include the government of the People's Republic of China for the assistance that they are now able to offer us. And again, to thank them for the very severe measures they took very early that has bought us the time to date. And we need to recognize their efforts.
That story just ended the national report for today, Tuesday, March 17th. Let's recap the top story. Grenada issues another travel advisory. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
COVID-19 spreads from person to person through the droplets that are produced when someone coughs or sneezes, which makes it easy to spread between people in close contact. Now let's get prepared to stay healthy. To reduce your chance of catching or spreading COVID-19, practice these simple everyday preventative measures. Droplets can also land on surfaces, so ensure that you wash your hands frequently for a minimum of 20 seconds or sing the happy birthday song twice. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes, nose, and mouth. If soap and water are not readily available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with an alcohol content between 60 and 90%. 70% is ideal. When you cough or sneeze, cover your nose and mouth with a flexed elbow or a tissue. Dispose of the tissue immediately and then wash your hands. If you notice someone has a fever and cough or other symptoms of respiratory illness, avoid close contact when possible. Let's all do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. Our health is our collective responsibility.